What's good? Hey, you're at the channel, The Debt Free Dad. I'm Marcus, the attorney who's not giving you legal advice, not giving you financial advice, just letting you know what's going on in the world of the household of the Debt Free Dad, letting y'all know what's cracking in the finance news. It's all about financial takes, financial topics. And I know I just kind of been dropping video after video after video, live after live. My schedule a little off because I'm gonna be going to this little conference this week. I had some stuff that were like just kind of current events that I just had to get out. So I just had to put the video out. I thought it was better to just go ahead and do it live as opposed to doing a pre-recording. So this is what it is. This is what y'all getting. The title of this video probably could have been stupid tax. So, hey, everybody probably know what a stupidity tax is, what a stupid tax is. But if you don't, let me go ahead and explain. Essentially, a stupid tax is when you make a decision that you may know is stupid or that you think is actually an intelligent decision, but it ends up circling back, kicking you in the ass, and causing you a lot of bread. So today we're going to talk about Tiffany Haddish, Aries Spears. They're in the news for a lot of litigation. And far as I'm concerned, I think they about to probably have to pay a big ass stupid tax. We're going to talk about it. We're going to watch a quick video where they went in depth. We're going to talk about some of the legal claims, and we're going to talk about how it's going to impact their paper, how it's going to impact their bread. What's good, brother? I appreciate you tuning in, man. I know, man. I should put the link in the comments, man, so you can jump in on this and talk about this tomfoolery with me. Let me know if you can get a quiet place, man. If you can find a quiet place, man, I'll drop the link to you, man. And later on, a little bit in the video, we can get on here and talk about it once we get a few more people up in here, brother. But we're going to talk about this stupid tax that Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears are going to have to pay. So first and foremost, it is a certain level of wealth that people acquire where it just kind of makes you litigation proof. And by litigation proof, I mean you got 100 M's, you got so much money, like somebody like Diddy, somebody like Robert Johnson, somebody like Michael Jordan. Any lawsuit they have is going to be nothing because they acquire so much money where, hey, if they got to get if they go through litigation, they could pay any settlement. $20 million is a drop in the bucket to these guys because these guys are billionaires or close as hell to being billionaires. Now, for me, if somebody sue my ass, it's gonna be a problem. they're gonna have to garnish my wages and fine me because your boy not having it. But that's really, some people acquire a certain amount of wealth where litigation just not an issue because their paper is so deep. So the first thing we got to do is talk about, before we even dive into what happened, let's talk about just where Aries Spears and where Tiffany Haddish is on the scale of, do these cats got enough money to be like, I'm really litigation proof because my pockets is deep. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, but the answer I'm gonna tell y'all off the break is an astonishing hell to the no. Now, I know these celebrity net worths aren't accurate, but we're just gonna roll with what we got. We can even give them a couple of extra $1 million, but it has Tiffany Haddish net worth at $6 million. So they say she make about 500 bands a year. $6 million is her net worth. Aries Spears, they have him at about $4 million. So hey, we could even throw an extra $2 million in, but from these people financial status or what we have on the internet, they probably worth way more than that. But I don't think they're in a position where they are just like litigation proof because they can just pay any settlement and it's going to be, just kind of a non-issue. So that's kind of point number one. Point number two, before we even look at the video and the claims and in the detail, look at that. You see your boy actually had to pull out a tablet and write some notes down because it was ridiculous. But I'm just going to go ahead and say this because I think this needs to be said first and foremost. Like, everybody should have somebody who can stop them, who they could run an idea that they think is great. Like most times, if you got like a really great idea, you should have somebody you could kick that idea off just to make sure that they can ask you the questions you need to know. They can ask those questions to make you think is this actually something smart or is this stupid? This, I mean, to me, was something that's stupid as hell. I think it could have been avoided. I don't understand how. And the Reader's Digest, the short version of it is they did a comedy skit with underage minors, and they're subsequently being sued for sexual battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, all of these whole other things that we're going to talk about later on. But just in any world, I don't think there's no way that you can just, as a matter of course, make anything related to child abuse, child assault, anything like that fucking funny. So like the fact that they actually had this and thought it was a bright idea, and they thought it was a bright idea enough to publish it on the damn internet in 2014, and it really just didn't get taken down until recently. It really goes to show how like sometimes people think they got a good idea and the idea fucking dumb as hell. This was one of those ideas that was dumb as hell. So we already know, we got the general idea of what happened. We know where their net worth at. You got Tiffany Haddish at 6 million, probably a little bit higher. Aries Spears at 4 million, probably a little bit higher. Probably it could be doubled up, even if it's doubled up. Even if we're looking at a $12 million and an $8 million net worth, that's not enough where lawsuits won't make your ass go broke. Like, let's just think about this. The lawyer that Tiffany Haddish hired is like the same attorney who represent some noble over in England to avoid child molestation charges related to Jeffrey Epstein's and his island. So let's just think about this. In private practice, I charged about $350 an hour. That was immediately after I graduated law school and passed the bar exam. I ain't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I literally had no clue what I was doing, but that's how much I was charging. So I already know this guy is charging a bag that's going to cost him a bag and a half. So that's first and foremost. Let's go ahead, take a look at the video. We're going to break down the video. I don't know if I'm going to let it play all the way through or if I'm going to pause it, but either way, I got some notes. We're going to touch on all the topics. We're going to touch on all the important legal nuances. I'm going to let y'all know my takes on if there's some jail culpability or if they're going to just have to give up a bag. Let me go and pull it up.
Tiffany Haddish's lawyer has responded to a lawsuit against the actress in which she's accused of molestation. In a complaint filed Tuesday in the California Superior Court for Los Angeles County, a woman identified as Jane Doe sued Haddish and comedian Aries Spears on behalf of a minor identified as John Doe. Haddish's lawyer tells People in a statement that the plaintiff's mother has been trying to assert these bogus claims against Ms. Haddish for several years. The attorney adds that now the mother has her adult daughter representing herself in this lawsuit.
All right, so there's a few things. I'm going to stop this real quick because there's a few things in here that are interesting. There's a few things that we just saw in that video that were kind of interesting, okay? First of all, and I already know I already know what the attorney is going to do. The attorneys for Tiffany Haddish, the attorney for Aries Spears is going to say, oh, this is a money grab. They just trying to grab money. It ain't legit. It's funny because I actually seen comments under that video where people was like, oh, this is just a money grab. I don't know. Like, I think those comments are kind of stupid. If my 7-year-old son or daughter is in a video that's not fucking funny, and now they traumatized where they can't date and they are socially awkward and have all types of anxiety, it ain't no damn money grab about that. So I seriously doubt that anybody who child would have went through that would have been like, oh, no, I'm not going to file those charges because I don't want people to think it's a money grab. So I think that's a dumbass idea. Yeah, I'm going to run it back, but it's something in there that's real important. I'm going to go and play the whole thing, but there's something in there that's real important. So before we get back to the video, mom's filed the lawsuit on behalf of her minor children, which is normal. But here's what's interesting, and I thought this was well played on the mother of the victim. If y'all heard, it said the mother has her adult daughter representing them in this lawsuit. Think about it. That's genius, because I already know what happened. Attorneys are like, They don't like losing, and most of them don't want to take a case unless it's gift wrapped in a pretty fucking bow, and all the evidence is just handed over to them real easy. So I thought this was genius, and I had to stop at to stress this point. The mother adult daughter is representing her in this litigation. So this stuff happened, right? Mom's was like, okay, she probably fished it to attorneys, and other attorneys was like, nah, we're not gonna do nothing with it. She waited till her daughter went through law school, passed the bar exam, so her daughter can actually bring this lawsuit on behalf of her family. Like, that's fucking genius. That's strategic as hell. I gotta give mom some credit for that. Now later on, I'm gonna give moms some not so good, some bad points for this whole situation starting in the first place. But I thought that was fucking genius to have your child who became an attorney to represent you in this litigation. You want to talk about keeping money in the family? That's smart as hell. Like, it's certain cases. When I saw that, I told my wife, I said, it's certain cases that I would quit my damn job for. Lord forbid, knock on wood, I don't never want it to happen. But let somebody in my family get hit by a big rig that's owned by Walmart. I'm gonna turn in my letter of resignation immediately, and I'm gonna represent them. So that, I thought that was a smart move. Now we're gonna go through the whole video. So everybody calling me out, want me to play the whole damn video without giving commentary. I do it on the back end.
And adds, quote, the two of them will together face the consequences of pursuing this frivolous action. Spears' lawyer also tells People in a statement that he, quote, isn't going to fall for any shakedown. In court documents obtained by People, Jane alleges that Haddish groomed the plaintiffs, leaving them, quote, traumatized for life. The plaintiff claims that Haddish was a longtime family friend, and that in 2013, when Jane Doe was 14, Haddish took her to the taping of a sexually suggestive Subway's commercial that Haddish allegedly said would help Jane Doe get on television and would be included in the teenager's film reel. During the taping, Haddish allegedly instructed Jane Doe on how to perform inappropriate sexual acts after watching an older man and woman in a video. Per the filing, John Doe was allegedly molested by Spears in 2014 after Haddish told him he would be taping a reel for Nickelodeon at Spears' home. While there, Haddish allegedly told Jane Doe that she needed John Doe alone and took him to a room where Spears began molesting the then 7-year-old on film. Court documents claim that Haddish witnessed the alleged incident and aided, abetted, and watched Spears sexually molest a child. John Doe says in a statement that Spears and Haddish gave him a drink that made him sleepy and, quote, happy face candy. He also claims that Haddish paid the siblings $100. According to the lawsuit, the alleged footage was shared on Funny or Die in 2014 before it was pulled last May. It also states that Jane Doe is 22 years of age now and has never dated, having suffered immense damage since the alleged encounters. It adds that John Doe now has a social disorder, depression, and anxiety, stating that he stays in his room at home and places Band-Aids over the cameras on his electronics for fear of being watched.
Why got that big ass shirt on?
Haddish and Spears are both being sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress, gross negligence, sexual battery, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of a minor. Haddish is also sued for negligent supervision, failure to warn, breach of fiduciary duty, and constructive fraud.
All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. That's the story in short. They are two comedians who are not that funny. Who are these people? These are two comedians who I don't know. Some people think they're funny. Like, my wife thinks Tiffany Haddish is hilarious. I don't find her brand of comedy funny at all. And I've seen Bill Cosby, Bill Bellamy. I mean, I love stand-up comedians. She's kind of corny. Aries Spears is a stand-up comedian, used to be on, if it wasn't SNL, it was Mad TV. It was one of them. But they're two well-known comedians in the Black community who did some dumb shit, essentially. That's so now we won't call you clueless anymore because now you're hip on game, right? And so that's the gist of it. So let's kind of go ahead and go through and talk about this stuff and some things that was crazy. So the first thing is, let's talk about Tiffany Haddish, because I think she probably got more exposure. Well, it might be the same, but unfortunately, when two people do stupid shit, the most well-known person with the most money is going to have the most exposure. So she probably going to have the most exposure because she has the most to lose. But apparently she was a longtime family friend. That's when they talk about this breach of fiduciary duty. Fiduciary just means that they had some type of relationship. It may have been some type of business relationship that the mother is asserting she had with Tiffany Haddish in relation to her kids. Now, before I talk about the 2013 and the 2014 incident, let me back up real quick and talk about the mother of these juveniles, right? Now, hey, everybody's parenting technique is a little bit different. But if y'all heard in the story, at one point they said something to the effect of um, the older child was told like, "Oh, we're going to film something for Nickelodeon," and it ended up being something inappropriate. Like, I don't know about you all, but just me in general, if I'm sending my minor child to do anything where there are other adults in the room, my black ass is going to be there. I'm sorry. Say what you want to say. Hey, I'm not judging her. I'm not saying she's a bad parent, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna send my minor children off with some Hollywood actor, comedian to film something, and my black ass not sitting there on the set watching every move that Denzel or Jamie Foxx or I'm doing. So I find that a little. I just find that a little crazy that the mother would send her minor children unaccompanied to be with two grown ass adults to do anything related to Hollywood. Not to mention, I mean, I think we just know in general how goofy as hell Hollywood was. Now you're not late. We just now getting started. But I think we know in general how fucking goofy Hollywood is. So I think it's crazy. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's crazy, but I know the debt-free dad not doing it. I'll be like, what? My daughter is going to go try out for the kids dance team with the local professional basketball team. And you know who's gonna be there? My black ass. Not saying that those guys are crazy, but nah, I'm gonna be there so I can see what's going on just in case I gotta whip somebody's ass. That's just kind of how it is. So there's no way that I'm letting my minor children go off with some Hollywood comedian or anybody in Hollywood to do it. It's just too many stories out there. It's Hollywood. And unfortunately, you know, I've seen it during criminal defense prosecution. People terrible as shit. So I automatically assume the worst of the worst of the worst. So that's point number one. All right, point number two is I think another thing that's kind of going to be a pain in the ass, and I don't know about you all, but I'm probably if I were a juror on any case, anything that a child says against an adult, I'm believing that shit. I know that it's possible for children to lie, don't get me wrong, but anything that a child says against an adult, if I just hear a child say A, an adult say B, my natural inclination is to lean towards the story of the child. Can children lie? Yeah. Do it happen? It happens a lot, but I'm believing it, and simply because there's an actual video out here where you all put this on the internet. And the video, in short, hey, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. The video, in short, was some like play on like an uncle who was like a pedophile with this kid, and he's rubbing lotion on the kid's back. I read about it because I didn't want to watch that shit. Part my language, but I read about it, and that was kind of the video. It was a joke of how he treated this kid, and then how later on the kid had adopted the same tendencies. Just me explaining the shit don't sound funny, so I don't know what the hell they was thinking. And it's going to cost them a lot of damn money and a lot of lucrative contracts, but it just doesn't sound funny at all. But that was the just of that's fine too. But I'm telling you right now, and I know you, and you're probably one of the most upstanding people I know. If a child said you did something, I'm believing that shit. I'm sorry, I'm believing it over you. That's just me. I think that's most juries. If you got a child on the stand saying that A happened and an adult comes in and said that B happened, hey, I don't know. There's a video. I think that's the thing that swings this thing in their favor. Like, let's just think about this from a common sense standpoint. If you're saying this happened and there was no video, no evidence, then I could at least understand a juror giving more deference to the facts and the weight. But if the child's saying this happened, you saying, nah, this didn't happen, or it wasn't like that, but the next thing submitted in evidence is a video of you rubbing lotion on a minor's back. Come on now. Like, let's just be realistic. So I think the video, it kind of goes to a point to corroborate the allegations that the child is making. Now, when it comes to the things that the child assert, when you're talking about gave them a beverage to make them sleepy, gave them some type of candy or something to that effect, those are facts that, you know, may or may not be true. But the fact that there's a video out there, the fact that there are two kids, even though they have a familial relationship, talking about separate experiences with Tiffany Haddish that kind of asserts the same conduct, that's all stuff that's going to go on the scale, that's going to kind of lean in those children's favor who are just bringing that case. That's just, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, that's just the way it is. So, you know, note to self, if, no matter how upstanding you are, if a kid or minor says you did something, your ass is going to have a tough time trying to circumvent that. But it's worse in this case because there's a video showing this crazy conduct. All right, so that's point number one. I think point number two that's kind of actually interesting is, and there's a recent article. This article actually came out today, so I thought this article was interesting. And apparently, you know, they reached out to the district attorney and was like, "Hey, we want the immediate arrest of Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears for all this and all that." Now, I'm not going to scroll through and go in depth of this article, but I'll tell you, whoever wrote the complaint, the video. Oh man, and thank you. If you like, I just don't see how the hell is funny with you doing anything with a minor unless they falling off their big wheel and there's on America's Funniest Home Videos or some shit. And so I agree. You said the video was mad creepy. He did say something about Lizzo too. I saw that. I was like, but now let's stick to this because this activity is what's going to damage his wallet and mess his money up. So, but you can see, apparently they reached out to the local prosecutors, the district attorney, and was like, hey, you should arrest these people immediately. Now, I'm not going to talk about every charge that they had, but I will talk a little bit about sexual battery, okay? And I looked it up in California. It's sexual battery, or it's defined as lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. I can't remember. It was California Penal Code 288, 228, 288, something to that effect. I think this is just nothing's going to come from it. I can't see any way that a prosecutor will actually go out there and make an arrest for lewd and lascivious acts with a minor or for sexual battery. They both kind of interchangeable depending on where you at. But the reason that is a slim, I think it's a 5 to 0% chance that they'll get arrested for this is because for sexual battery, especially how, and it's defined like this in most states. Some states don't have a particular nuance, but in order for there to be a sexual battery, it has to be an unwanted or unlawful contact with a minor. So touching, grabbing, anything like that. But that contact has to be something it is for sexual pleasure. It's sexual in nature. So necessarily rubbing lotion on somebody, I don't think they'll have that element, or the prosecutors won't be able to find that element that, yeah, there was some inappropriate touching going on, but was that touching something for the sexual gratification of the actual defendant? And I think that they actually got a really good argument because, I mean, if I was arguing on behalf of them, I would say, yeah, y'all saw the skit. He was, I don't know, rubbing lotion on the kid's arm, but it was a skit for comedy. It was submitted to Funny or Die. The whole point of it was to be comedic in nature. So that element of that sexual gratification, sexual pleasure, I just don't think that they're going to be able to prove. So, yeah, I just don't think they're going to be able to prove that. So I seriously doubt if any arrests. Mom's kicking their dad. Yeah, nah. I like the ones where the kids like hit the ball and they hit the dad in the crotch, or they throw a plane, and like anytime kids do something, it's like a homing beacon directly towards dad's crotch. Those always had me dying. So I don't think that there's going to be any criminal conduct that comes from this, just because of the way sexual battery is defined in California, eluding the lascivious act. I don't think that they can prove that the touching was something in a sexual nature as it related to the actual defendant, Aries Spears. I just don't think they can prove that, because his argument is going to be, I didn't get any sexual gratification. I did it because I thought it was funny. And I honestly think the dumbass did it because he thought it was funny. So I think nothing, no arrest, none of that's going to come. Now, here where their pockets is going to get hit up. Let's kind of talk about this and dive into this for a little bit. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Okay. Now, one of the first things you learn, like, if essentially intentional infliction of emotional distress is exactly what it is. You intentionally do something to somebody that causes that person to go through some emotional distress, and they have some type of damages. That's an entirely civil thing. It's not criminal. They can pay, excuse me, they can pay punitive compensatory damages. So bottom line is, I think they got a lot of damn exposure with intentional infliction of emotional distress. And I also think that they're gonna have to cough up a lot of damn money. Now, I did find a good site that broke down the elements. So shout out to this law firm, but they had a good site that broke down the elements. Now, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Again, the person is liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress. It requires a showing that the defendant's conduct was outrageous and the defendant intended to cause emotional distress, right? So, was this conduct outrageous? I think it was crazy to make a skit, and but here's where they're going to argue. The defendant, because it says and has to show the conduct was outrageous and the defendant intended to cause emotional distress. So their attorneys are going to argue, well, even though the conduct was crazy as hell, we didn't intend to cause any emotional distress. And we already know there was emotional distress, because if y'all remember in the video, they said that the older female victim, social anxiety, 22 years old, haven't dated. The younger victim, social anxiety inside the house, covers up everything in the house with cameras, just don't like being around cameras. And I can imagine, like, you 7 years old, this video is out and is on the internet. Like, could you imagine, like, your classmates finding that? That, like, I can clearly see where the emotional distress was, right? But their attorneys are going to argue we didn't intentionally want to cause emotional distress. So here's where it gets interesting. Alternatively, the plaintiff may establish intentional infliction of emotional distress by showing that, in this first one right here, the defendant acted with reckless disregard for the probability that the plaintiff, children in this case, would suffer emotional distress. The defendant knew that the children were present when the conduct occurred. The children suffered severe emotional distress, and the defendant conduct was a substantial factor in causing the children severe emotional distress. Like, that's everything that the damn video said. Personally, in my opinion, I think just reading that shit, I think that's actually clear as hell, personally. Oh yeah, they gonna break some bread for sure. They gonna break some bread, because it's with 100% certainty. I feel 100% confident that everything that I just read for intentional infliction of emotional distress is there. The children have forms of emotional distress, so it's going to be crazy. They ain't sending no Hollywood people to jail. I mean, come on, Will Smith slapped somebody on national TV, and creepy creepsters. Yeah, that's the thing, though. But that's the thing, even if you intended it to be funny, it doesn't negate how. Even if they intended it to be funny, when you're talking about the intentional infliction of emotional distress, it doesn't impact the emotional distress that it caused them, that it being posted on the internet caused the children. Then you got to think, it's children too. Children, it take years. It's children. I actually looked it up. Like, the number of children who are actually sexually abused it's creepy that it's so goddamn high. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about, like out of 10 kids, it was something like 4 or 5. It was crazy as hell. Most times, it's always a family friend. So I mean, I think every element of that infliction of emotional distress is there, and they're gonna have to pay a shitload of money. I mean, it's just, did the defendant act with reckless disregard for the possibility that the children would suffer emotional distress? I mean, fucking Ray Charles could see that. The defendant knew the plaintiff was present, the child was present, yes. Suffer emotional distress, already talked about that. They socially awkward, anxiety, phobia of cameras, the oldest female not dating. The conduct was a substantial factor. Yeah, but for y'all filming this dumbass video, none of their emotional distress would have happened. So all of that shit, check, 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 check. I mean, I think that's an easy ass damn case. So if this is her first case, she gonna have a winner and get a big ass settlement. And so they actually define severe emotional distress, which really is satisfied here. Distress is so substantial or enduring that no reasonable person could be expected to endure it. It includes highly unpleasant mental reactions such as fright, grief, shame, anger, or worry. Whether emotional distress rises to the level of severe is a question of the fact for the jury. So essentially, what that means is the children's attorneys are going to present a bunch of evidence that they've been going through counseling, maybe psychiatrists, maybe psychologists, all of this stuff to talk about how this video fucked them up, unfortunately. And the jury is going to look at that and say, damn, was that severe? And when you're talking about for children, yes. The shit is severe. They screwed. They're going to have to kind of pay a bag. That's just what it is. Now, when you talk about the conduct that Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears did, they actually kind of break that down. And I think this is also key because all of this stuff, all of these bullet points is everything. You got to prove the first bullet point, the second bullet point, the third bullet point. So conduct is considered outrageous when it is. And when I read this, y'all just let me know, put a yes or no in the comment if you think that the conduct of these two these two comedians, these two individuals meet this. The conduct is considered so outrageous when it is so extreme that a reasonable person would find it intolerable. Behavior may be considered outrageous if the defendant abuses a relationship or a position that gives him or her power to damage the plaintiff's interest, knows the plaintiff is susceptible to injuries through mental distress, or acts intentionally or unreasonably with the recognition that the acts are likely to result in illness through mental distress. Like, damn, I'm not going to say that this is a slam dunk case, but this is a good fucking case. Like, I don't know. If somebody had this case on my desk and was like, do you think this case is a winner? I think is a big plus. Yeah, that shit is no joke. Yeah, the trauma from sexual stuff like that, not to mention it was compounded because it was put on the internet. Like, let's just think about this, all right? It was put on the internet. So again, the sexual trauma is one thing, but to have whatever that traumatic event was put on the internet, like, I would be interested to see how many views that shit had. But I guarantee you, if it was on a site like Funny or Die and it had Tiffany Haddish in it and Aries non-funny Spears in it, man, that shit probably had millions of views. Yeah, you gotta be. And that's the thing too. I think before you joined in, one of the things and points that I was talking about, Britt, was like, nothing against, hey, I'm not talking about these kids' mother, but they only talk about the relationship with the mother. So I can only speak towards the mother. But I just find it fucking shocking that you send your kids off to do these things with actors and actresses in Hollywood and you aren't there. That would be the equivalent of you sending your minor child to film a damn Disney show, but you're not on the set. You know how many stories I heard of creepy ass Disney producers asking them little kids to do crazy shit? Like, hell no. Nah. So, I mean, I'm not, again, not to talk about the parent, because the parent clearly had some relationship with Tiffany Haddish. And I actually read it. It looked like, I think the daughter the oldest child, the daughter, met Tiffany Haddish at something like a comedy camp or something like that she went to. So, oh. That's hilarious. Yeah, yeah. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's the thing, though. The intentionality of it can be overcome because the conduct has to be intentional. Or because if we go back to that document, let me pull it up. But if you go back to that document, it essentially says the conduct has to be intentional. You got to intentionally cause this emotional distress, or in the alternative, you have to act with reckless disregard. So I think with that alternative approach, and that's kind of a catch-all, because if it was always it had to be intentional, the argument is always going to be, oh no, I never intended to harm this person. But right here, where I got it highlighted at, it says, alternatively, a plaintiff may establish the intentional infliction of emotional distress by showing that. So it has to be intentional. Like, intentional would have been like if it was a straight sexual assault for sexual pleasure. Boom. Yeah, you intended to sexually assault them knowing that it could cause this harm. But this one, because they intended it to be funny, they just were fucking bad characters of what the fuck funny is. So for this one, alternatively, a plaintiff may establish intentional infliction of emotional distress by showing that the defendant acted with reckless disregard of the probability that the plaintiff would suffer emotional distress. The defendant knew the plaintiff was present when the conduct occurred. The plaintiff suffered emotional distress, and the defendant conduct was a substantial factor in causing the plaintiff severe emotional distress. So I think all that shit is met. Like, I mean, you know, as jacked up as it is, I think that on that second prong, of, okay, we can't prove it was intentional, but we can prove you acted with reckless disregard for how it would impact the person. The person was there. I think all of that stuff, check. I would, yeah. You can catch it on the replay. You can catch it on the replay. I played the video, but there's a bunch of videos out there. But I think that all of those prongs are met. So I think that they are really going to be screwed. Now, I tell you, I'm kind of shocked why this not is getting a little bit more traction than what it was. Normally I would expect, because you know how we stay in cancel culture. Like, if you do something wrong, you ain't even got to do something wrong. You could do something right that everybody else think is wrong. But these bastards was wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying in general, in cancel culture, you could do something that was right. And if a majority of the people think it was wrong, they're going to cancel your ass. So I'm surprised we haven't seen like the cancel train come. You know what I mean? And I tell you, I ain't gonna lie to. This is just me. I think black folks, I think we like are hesitant to pull that cancel trigger. yeah. Let me know what y'all think. What's going on, Crystal? Thanks for joining there. But I think black folks in general are hesitant to pull their cancel trigger. Like, don't make me go through the historical things. Like, you know, like we all heard those rumblings of R. Kelly's a long time ago. We saw that Aaliyah video and that Age Ain't Nothing But a Number album, and we just was listening to the music. So we could be a little bit slow to pull the cancel trigger. But I think these two are definitely be on the hook. They're gonna get a big hit in their wallet. So when we started out, we talked about what these folks' net worth was. Their net worth $6 million and $4 million. That's not a net worth high enough to make you pretty much. That's not a net worth high enough to make you think that okay, these people can just pay some lengthy settlement and it'll go away. Because I'm telling y'all right now, if I was the attorney representing them, the fact that it's children involved, the fact that, I mean, I think that the internal infliction of emotional distress can be proved not by intent, by the reckless disregard and outrageous conduct. Shit, I'm not going. If we're gonna settle this, because I already know if I go to a jury, they're gonna come out with that bag, and what they don't want. I've been on both sides of settlements. What you don't want is to put a settlement in the hand of a jury. Now, I haven't looked. Some places, and California may be one of those states where they may limit the punitive damages or the punishment damages for an individual to 3 times something like that. It may be one of those states, but I tell you, it's probably never a good thing if you in court litigating I wouldn't want to leave the number of damages up to the jury, because a lot of times the jury, most states, how it works, if California is one of those states that has, the jury can only award punitive damages 3 times the amount of the actual damages. When the jury get the jury instructions to award damages, they don't know that. The judge never tells them that. So the jury will go and they come back out, we're going to award judgment for $14.5 million. And they're like, but luckily, you know, the judge applies the rules. Well, even though they awarded $14 million by law, we can only do this. They also have a couple of other negligence claims in there, but they all piggyback off of the intentional infliction of emotional distress. So I guess the, you know, oh my goodness, the releaked video had gained almost 1 million views in 4 days. Oh yeah. See, that's come on now. Like I think that fact right there just ass on. They got that's crazy. 1 million views in 4 days, and the other shit been on for 14 since 2014, like over 7 years. Like, oh man, like that goes to compound and further show the emotional damage just from the damn amount of viewership of it. So I think it's going to be crazy. Like I said in the beginning of this video, we all need to have somebody who we can run ideas from. Like, real talk, somebody on their team, and this is an actual failure on, it is a failure on the part of Tiffany Haddish and the part of Aries Spears, because y'all clearly don't know. That's how come I don't think they funny, but y'all just confirmed to me that y'all aren't funny, because y'all clearly don't know what the fuck funny is. So it's definitely those two individuals' fault. But the other thing is, who the hell is on your team? You would like to think, like, if I get Netflix specials and I've been on nationally syndicated movies and all of this type of stuff, like, come on now. You need a group. When you get to that level, you need a group of people that would probably be diverse, because, hey, a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of times white people may not know what offensive to other demographics, and black folks may not know what's offensive to other demographics. So you need a collective group of people that you can run your seemingly bright ideas by if you're a creator, and say, hey, y'all, what do y'all think of this? I think it's funny as hell. You need one person who got the fortitude to just be like, nah, dog, I don't think that's funny. Like, you should, you might want to go back to the drawing board on that one, because that shit is going to end up and having your ass in court. Like, somebody on their team should have told them that. They clearly didn't. So it's going to be terrible. I passed on it. I read a article that described it, and as soon as I doing the research, when I saw like the boy was like 7 years old, then I read that like Aries Spears, the comedian, was like rubbing lotion on his back or something. I was like, nah, I think DFD is gonna sit this one out. Nah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and sit this one out. Like, hey, even though it was on the internet, millions of people watch it, I don't think I'm gonna add to that number just out of my own abundance of caution. So that was kind of my position. The comments are brutal. I wouldn't watch this video. I agree. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Whether or not, well, let's say best case scenario, let's say they walk away and they don't have to pay anything but whatever the hell they pay their attorney, which I seriously doubt has happened. Like, y'all mark my word. Like, I should put a poll out and see, like, mark my word. If this doesn't come back and they cut a big ass check, and nobody gonna ever know, because I already know when you cut that check and you settle something, you make sure they sign that non-disclosure agreement. Don't tell nobody how many M's we paid y'all, because the more money you pay, the more guilt is confirmed. So like if it was like a $1 million settlement, you know, people be like, damn, they only paid $1 million. They must have not have had strong evidence. If they pay like $8 million, people gonna be like, damn, they paid $8 million. Oh shit, they had some strong ass evidence. So y'all being creeps is, but I think the court of public opinion in this side is right. If the court of public opinion, my personal court of public opinion is going along the sides of both of y'all comedians are goofy as hell. I think it's crazy. I think what both of y'all did was wrong. I think y'all clearly on the hook for intentional infliction of emotional distress. All of that shit is proven. Those elements I showed look like my 15-year-old son can match the facts up and prove the elements of all that. So I think they definitely gonna get burned. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in, Judy. Hey, shout out to you too. I like that video you did today. That was a creative way to go through a deposition of what happened. I thought that was real creative, and you're a hell of an actor too. Nah, I ain't doing that, man. I ain't wearing that cowboy shirt. I actually need to. I think I'm gonna give it to my homeboy, man. If he come back in town soon, I'm gonna give it to him because my other thought was using it to wash the car, but it may strip the paint off my car. So, but I feel fairly confident that they're gonna walk away for settlement. The terms gonna be non-disclosed, and that's just a stupid ass tax for stupid. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and that's definitely what this was. Yeah, it's crazy because I did a video about Bill Cosby just on. I did a video about Bill Cosby just on how he got out of prison and was able to beat his charges, and YouTube demonetized it. Then I had to appeal it. Then they was like, "Oh, you good?" Because I guess they thought I was on there talking about Bill Cosby's arrest. I was just talking about the evidence and the stupid prosecutor, past and present, and how this whole loophole happened in his favor. And after they saw it, it kind of screwed me because it got a bunch of views, right? But then they demonetized it, and by the time they finished reviewing it, and they said, "Oh, that video is good. You can monetize that video." Nobody really cared to know how he got out of jail anymore, so it didn't get that many views after. So I lost some change, of course, but it's all good. Yeah, that was a dope live stream, and you played a really the way you read it was probably how the individual actually read it. I took it. Your acts made me think that the way you read it made me think that that person was arrogant as hell. Man, bro, get out of here. See, man, you family, man, but that Cowboys, I got a rash on my nipples because of it. Like I'm not doing that. I'm kind of stupid because I kind of want to run the bet back just because I don't like losing and I want to see them wear some football team paraphernalia. But I don't feel confident in my team's ability, so it's probably going to go downhill. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about this. Anytime it's something that I see that there's a financial nexus to it, and the financial nexus to this is your behavior has a stupid tax. If you do something that's very stupid, there's a stupid tax to pay, and that stupid tax, depending on your bracket, is going to be expensive. Depending on your bracket, is going to be expensive as hell. Yeah, YouTube gets sensitive. Anytime you talk about something that's current event that's like dealing with that, and they're like I said, they'll probably monetize it after they review it if they do demonetize it. But I don't care. I just wanted to kind of get it out there. And so, but that was the financial takeaway from this. These two are going to have to pay a hefty, stupid tax, and they should pay a hefty, stupid. Like I said at the beginning, I personally don't think they that damn funny anyway. So, the fact that they acquired and garnered that much success, I'm actually impressed. But that's all I got. I appreciate y'all tuning in to this topic. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. I got to do a live tomorrow because it's just so much news going out. And I think it's interesting news because I was just talking about it in my last live. It was about your children. And tomorrow's live is going to be about your children and financially spoiled children and kind of how to deal with them. And now we got a prime example in hip hop of a big time rapper whose financially privileged son recently got arrested. And I saw a few videos out there, and I kind of, this is a good financial point to take because no matter what your financial status is, hey, I hate to say it, no matter what your financial status is, the streets is out there for people if they want it, So that's going to be tomorrow's topic. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hey, I actually recently also Y'all check it out. I actually did a membership. I'm gonna go ahead and pitch that in the video. There are some perks that come with it, and I think one of the biggest perks is some special video content that's going to be for members only, where I talk about some stuff that's not really finance related, but I'm just kind of giving my take off on some topics that's outside of the finance box. And some of those videos I release out, but I try to keep everything that I'm putting out for public consumption, mainly around the finance space. But y'all check it out. It's dope. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. Y'all keep putting comments up, so I'm gonna read them. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I feel like I gotta read the comments. Yeah, you see, mark my word, they gonna get a bag for it. They gonna get a bag for it. What I say? I know people love Steve Harvey with his bad advice. Steve, Steve Harvey advice is, I don't know. Some of his advice is good, but Steve Harvey, man, hey, you got to cater to your audience. So Steve Harvey's audience for a lot of his shows is like 80% women. So, hey, I get it. You got to cater to his audience. But I mean, yeah, people love listening to Steve Harvey bad advice. So I actually did a video, I think, where I played a Steve Harvey clip, then I kind of broke down some of the discussions on it. It's not really good to do your videos that way, because Steve Harvey don't play about his intellectual property. If you make a long form video and you put a damn Steve Harvey clip in there, they will demonetize it depending on what platform is on. So, that's something that you got to take into consideration. But hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take care. Hey, tomorrow I'm gonna do a live from my villa. I'm gonna be at a FinCon conference. It's gonna be interesting. So I'm gonna have a completely different setup. And my wife, when she saw what my amenities look like, she was like, "Damn, I should have went." I was like, "Nope, nope. You let me alone to go to my conference, to be unbothered for a few days." But y'all make sure y'all check it out. Y'all have a good one. Be blessed. Peace.